When two mothers stand at two ends of faith, Diep's mother is a simple country woman, muddy feet and hands all year round. But in her heart, love for daughter is as deep as the sea. Once upon a time, James, young CEO, ever hesitated to brave the rain and sun to visit Diep. Once bent down to eat 8 noodles cooked by her own hands. I used to sit in the yard and listen to her tell stories about Father Diep. Then she understood. This guy loves her daughter with all his heart. So when James officially proposed, his hands trembled as he held the tiny ring. Her eyes full of sincerity, she nodded. She doesn't love him because he's rich and not because he's a CEO, but because in his eyes she saw gentleness, saw the shadow of the man she used to love, once trusted to entrust a lifetime. But in another world, the other side of the city, James' mother, Mrs. Matchmaker, sat silently in the luxurious living room, pensive face when hearing the news that Diep was sick. She repeated in a voice as cold as the morning wind, a sick girl with no noble background, how to shoulder the positio, future wife of the Nguyen family. Oh, I said anything. He just squeezed his hand, eyes still turned towards the window, where the afternoon sun is falling patchily. Mom, I said softly, full of emotion. If Mom saw the way she wiped my forehead when I had a fever, if Mom hears her say, I believe you even if the whole world turns its back, then Mom will understand. I did not choose a perfect wife. I choose someone who is willing to stay when I have nothing left. Silence fell over the room. The matchmaker looked at her son. Her heart was torn. On the one hand is the hope for a perfect future. On the other hand is the only son she loves, betting his life on a sick country girl. But James's eyes did not waver. It was exactly like her husband's eyes back when he decided to marry her, although she was forbidden by her husband's family because of rural origin. The matchmaker closed her eyes and saw the image of the turtle returning from the past. Maybe she forgot. Love does not choose the strong or the weak, rich or poor. It only chooses those who dare to stay. Purple leaves when two mothers face each other. The living room of Diep's house that morning had a gentle sunshine, ginger tea scent. Mother Diep poured boiling water while looking at the woman opposite, sitting upright in ivory silk shirt, wear expensive watch, the atmosphere of the city of Diep. James's mother looked around the house alone, with pensive eyes, either contemptuous nor appreciative. That look made Diep's mother a little worried. She doesn't know. Did this woman come here to refuse or accept the marriage between her son and Diep, the daughter she loved like her life? She knew my daughter was sick. Diep's mother spoke first in a gentle voice. She worries, I understand, but I am also a mother. I was also scared when I saw him in the hospital, pale as grass, but it still lives because it believes someone is waiting. The matchmaker was silent, her eyes moving slightly. She did not expect the woman in front of her to be so calm. Oh, begging no excuses. Just tell the truth, like a mother facing the truth. May have a brighter future than slow tomorrow. A healthy wife, a family of equal social standing. You understand that too, right? I understand, Diep nodded. But she tried asking him at night when he was sick, empty-handed, who will stay? A perfect wife or a girl who dares to hold his hand? In the midst of the storm, the space fell silent. A bird in the garden sang loudly. The sunlight through the leaves shone on the silver hair of the two mothers, people who used to be someone's daughter, ever loved someone despite all obstacles. Then from outside the purple leaf voice rang out, weak but bright. Mom, I cooked porridge. Mom and Uncle, let's eat. Both women turned their heads. At that time, the matchmaker looked at Diep, thin and pale because of the medicine. but bright eyes, lips smiling warm like the morning Sioux. In that look, nothing but love for James and gratitude for life. At that moment, the matchmaker suddenly understood that there are things that money cannot buy, like that look, like courage, like a girl willing to hold her son's hand through all storms. She nodded slightly and said nothing more. But when leaving home, she turned back to look at Diep's mother and smiled slightly. "Thanks for raising a daughter. Know how to love like that. I thank you from the leaves under the bamboo roof, where orchid pots sway in the morning Sioux." Diep paused, still holding the bowl of hot porridge. She didn't mean to eavesdrop, just wanted to call the two mothers in for breakfast. But when Mother's voice rang out firmly, gently, she stood still. Every word of her mother entered her hands like a gentle breeze, caressing but penetrating. But it still lives because it believes someone is waiting. The voice of a mother who has worked hard all her life, ever learned to speak elegantly, today suddenly like a strong shield, stood before James's mother without bowing. "Oh, excuse. Just speak from the heart." Diep raised her hand to cover her mouth. Her heart felt like it was about to burst. How many months have passed? She wanted to retreat. She doubted herself. She thinks she is a bird, is a stain on James's glorious dream. But Mother never saw her weak. Mother believes she is strong enough to love and be loved. Then the matchmaker's cold but sincere voice rang out, like a pause in the music. "Yes, I can have a brighter future than you. Yes, you deserve the world." And she thought she should let go of Tay, but her mother said, "A perfect wife, or a girl who dares to hold his hand in the storm." Diep's tears fell not because of grievance, but because for the first time she felt worthy. OT for health, OT for beauty, but for love. A love dares to stay. She tried to swallow, her eyes blurred, but her heart felt lighter. Quietly turned her back to the kitchen and wiped her tears. Only one thing in mind. Even if illness takes away youth, I will still hold your hand, James, to the end of my dream. Do you want me to continue writing the James scene? Came back from the meeting and saw Diep's teary eyes. Then she hugged him tightly from behind. Love in the storms of life. Who will be the one to hold your hand and never let go? Life is not always roses, and love is true love. It's not a fairy tale full of sunshine, but sometimes in the midst of storms, between seemingly insurmountable moments, a hand that holds you unconditionally. OT for profit. Become the brightest light. Light the way for a lifetime. Diep, a girl with a disease, make many people afraid. I used to think I was not worthy of a CEO's love, like James. But then one simple morning, she heard her mother. The hard-working woman never knew how to speak sweet words. Standing opposite Mother, James gently but firmly protects his daughter. A perfect wife, or a girl who dares to hold his hand in the storm. That moment awakened Diep's heart. Love is not about appearance. OT within the ideal of perfection that society sets. It lies in who will dare to stay, dare to believe, dare to go with you through the worst days. Diep, in eyes filled with tears. Diep is no longer the weak girl who ran away. She is the woman who dares to stand by the man she loves, regardless of the past, disease of the world, because she understands love is not a question, whether worthy or not, but whether sincere or not. In life, we often get caught up in a spiral of expectations. Must be rich, must be healthy, must be a good match. But there are moments, right in the storm of life, you people most clearly reveal the nature of love. OT material, but by staying. Story between two mothers. Diep's mother and James's mother is a dialogue not simply about rules or family. It is a dialogue between faith and prejudice, between past and hope, while James' mother represents for a safe world. According to the standard, Mother Cotildan represents the heart, for the belief that love does not require perfect conditions, but only need to people dare to hold hands when everything seems to be falling apart. I picture the silent purple leaf shedding tears behind the door. OT because of weakness, but because she realized she doesn't need to run away from love. James just because he is not healthy anymore. But she doesn't have to be beautiful. Need to stand in the spotlight to be worthy of him. All she needs is the courage to stay when I myself wanted to leave. The lesson from this story makes the audience unable to help but coincide. Sometimes we keep looking for a perfect love, but forget that the most valuable thing is a person who dares stand by me when the whole world turn away. True love is not without tears, sickness or suffering, but the other person still chooses to love you, even if you are no longer the versio best of yourself. Second year, and if anyone is wondering, do I deserve to be loved? Remember, you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be honest and dare to stay. Life is not without storms. Storms of life or hurricanes from social prejudice and the harshness of loved ones. But it is in the midst of the storm that we find out who is sincere, who stays, who is willing to fight with me. In the story of Diep and James, both are not perfect. She was a poor girl and now she is sick. He was a brilliant CEO, out facing the risk of losing everything. But when both have nothing left to be proud of, they really hold hands not to show off, but to brace ourselves to overcome challenges. The acceptance of two mothers, one full of love, a doubter, is the image, representing different perspectives in society. But love is not to convince people, but to let two hearts be strong enough to convince themselves that they deserve to be happy, even though life does not draw a smooth road. The lesson is a guy. Don't let judgment make you lose the one you chose. Stay when we are at our weakest. Don't reject someone out of fear of not being worthy. Dare to accept all parts, my perfect. And most of all, love is not a story between two perfect people, but the journey of two people who dare to move forward together when all reason tells them to let go.